This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Thursday, the 6th day of April in the year 2023. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. The International Court of Justice today rejected and dismissed Venezuela's objections to Guyana's case before the court, paving the way for the substantive case to move forward. The court found that Venezuela's application had no legal basis. Venezuela wanted the court not to entertain Guyana's substantive application on several grounds, one of which is that Great Britain should be party to the case instead of Guyana. But the International Court did not agree with that contention and ruled that Venezuela negotiated with Guyana during the mixed commission and the good offices process and never requested the involvement of the United Kingdom. ICJ President Judge Joan Donoghue said based on Venezuela's track record, there was an indication by Venezuela that the matter could be settled without the input of the United Kingdom. The judge also said that both parties were in agreement that Great Britain had no role to play in the settlement of the controversy. The ruling by the court now makes way for Guyana to present its substantive case before the court for a final judicial settlement.
The court concludes that by virtue of being a party to the Geneva Agreement, the United Kingdom accepted that the dispute between Guyana and Venezuela could be settled by one of the means set out in Article 33 of the Charter of the United Nations, and that it would have no role in that procedure. Under these circumstances, the court considers that the monetary gold principle does not come into play in this case. It follows that if the court, in its judgment on the merits, were called to pronounce on certain conduct attributable to the United Kingdom, which cannot be determined at present, this would not preclude the court from exercising its jurisdiction, which is based on the application of the Geneva Agreement. The preliminary objection raised by Venezuela must therefore be rejected.
The court also found that the good offices process, which was conducted by the Secretary General of the United Nations, was also never objected to by any party on the grounds that the United Kingdom is not part of the negotiations. Venezuela had argued that the 1899 arbitral award is invalid. Guyana has repeatedly objected to that position. Guyana described Venezuela's objections to the case as a delaying tactic so that its substantive case could be delayed. Today's hearing was attended by a battery of lawyers representing Guyana, along with the co-agents in the matter, former Foreign Minister Carl Greenwich and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Elizabeth Harper. Attorney General Anand Nandlal was also in attendance at the International Court. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's been a long time coming. Overdue, some might say, but now that it's here, it will change life forever, and it is here to stay. The future is now, transforming Guyana into the 21st century. Introducing GTT Fiber. Experience internet connectivity like never before. Speeds you deserve at prices you can afford from a name you can trust. Sign up today. GTT Fiber is here. GTT. Together, we rise faster.
At Giftland Office Max, we're all about customer satisfaction. Whether it's clothing and shoes for the ladies, gents, and kids, or for the latest electronics or hardware appliance, we're always thinking of satisfying you, our dear customers. Now you can shop online at www.giftlandofficemax.com or visit us at the Giftland Mall, where we're happy to serve each and every one of you.
Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors, that my crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah, thirst buster. Grab a buster. Bust the flavor, taste the savor. Bust the flavors. Bust the flavors.
Strong and solid in countries far and wide. New India assurance we're standing by your side. Golden service, half a century and more. New India assurance, our policies are secure. From the heart of India, we serve these islands. The strength that you can trust, you're safe when you come to us.
New India Assurance Company. Assurance when you need it most.
For your home, motor or business insurance, visit New India Guyana office, 58 Brickdam next to Star Computers. Telephone 226-0415-7. Comfortable parking available.
Let's tell you now that the government and the opposition have both welcomed the latest ruling from the International Court, which rejected Venezuela's objections to that border case. Moments after Venezuela's objections were thrown out, President Irfan Ali said Guyana remains confident that its long-standing international boundary with Venezuela will be confirmed by the court.
Guyana has always been fully committed to the peaceful resolution of the dispute with its neighbor and sister republic in accordance with international law. That is why, after attempting unsuccessfully to achieve a diplomatic settlement through talks mediated by the United Nations Secretary General over more than 2 decades, Guyana brought the matter to the International Court of Justice for a final and binding determination. All member states of the United Nations, including Guyana and Venezuela, are obligated under the United Nations Charter to comply with the court's binding judgments.
The president recalled that this is the second time that the International Court has rejected objections raised by Venezuela. In December of 2020, the court ruled against Venezuela's initial objections about its jurisdiction to hear the matter. The president said Guyana is firm on its position in the border case and is pleased to see the case moving forward. In a statement, opposition spokesperson on Foreign Affairs Amanza Walton Desire said the opposition also welcomes the ruling by the International Court, which has cleared the way for the final and binding settlement of the controversy.
We are certainly very happy with the ruling handed down today, April 6, 2023, by the ICJ, with the preliminary objections being rejected by the court. The way is now clear for the court to proceed to hear the matter on the merits. I think we continue to see Guyana, and we will continue to see Guyana being vindicated. We have chosen to resolve this dispute peacefully, and I believe that our faith in the international legal order will be vindicated. As you're aware, this matter was brought to the ICJ under the previous David Granger-led administration with a view to obtaining a final binding settlement. We, as Guyanese, we are fully committed to the peaceful resolution of this controversy with Venezuela, and we look forward to the court proceeding to adjudicate to a final and binding settlement of this issue. I really must commend, I absolutely must commend our legal team for the sterling work that they've put forward so far. The entire Guyana is grateful, and we will continue to stand with you and to support.
She said today's decision is further proof of the validity and rightness of Guyana's position, adding that the opposition joins with all Guyanese in praising the excellent work of the legal team and representatives in the matter. She said Guyanese will continue to stand united on the issue of defending its territorial integrity and sovereignty. The case was filed at the International Court under the former APNU-AFC government. Matters against Venezuela have always been supported by both the government and opposition in Guyana. Guyana's move to the International Court came under recommendation of the UN Secretary General after years of the good officer's process not budging. Let's tell you now that opposition parties, the APNU and the AFC, today called for the release of the cost recovery audit, contending that a 2-year wait over claims that the audit firm IHS Markit did not comply with the international best practices is unacceptable. The final cost recovery audit produced and submitted by the company for the period 1999 to 2017 found that 12.8%, or up to $214 million of ExxonMobil's $1.67 billion expenses were not supported by sufficient documentation and were therefore questionable. The report was submitted since July of 2020, but the Guyana Revenue Authority and the Natural Resources Ministry, in objecting to the final report, said the UK audit firm did not comply with international audit standards and practices and had also breached the contractual agreement. But the leader of the Alliance for Change, Kemraj Ramjatan, while describing the GRA explanation as strange, said the ruling PPP government has used disinformation and outright lies to hide the true status of the audit report.
With inflated expenses to the tune of $214 million and government doing nothing for 2 years, means that Guyana and its people have been denied a minimum of $25 million.
The AFC leader said it is clear now more than ever that the government is dodging issues of transparency and accountability.
We further feel that some Faustinian deal has been worked out between government and Exxon to not renegotiate the agreement nor scrutinize cost oil. In consideration, Exxon will grant to the PPP government monies at the beck and call and whim and fancy of the government, like recently happened in the matter of monies for the construction of a stadium at Quarantine. This will only lead to a deformed accountability and transparency system and a bypass of the constitutional and statutory framework prescribed for public monies.
Mr. Ramjatan said it is incumbent on the government to release the audit report for public consumption and parliamentary deliberation. Meanwhile, advisor to the opposition leader Elson Lowe said the government must protect the interests of Guyana in the development of the oil and gas sector. He said from the opposition's point of view, the government has shown little interest in completing the audit cycle.
Despite the magnitude of the sums involved, the government's attitude reeks of collusion, negligence, and recklessness. We must therefore be fearful with regards to the second audit being conducted by VHE Consulting for the period 2018 to 2020, which involves the sum of US $7.3 billion. That is a sum over 4 times larger than the first audit.
Like the AFC leader, Mr. Lowe said the government must release all the audit reports and recover all invalid expenses. Lowe said it is important for the government to get the report right to ensure that Guyanese fully and fairly benefit from the proceeds of the oil and gas sector. Dispelling the view by some that Guyana stands to lose billions of dollars should the government fail to act on the recommendations in the country's first cost recovery audit, Vice President Barrett Jagdeo today said of the $214 million flagged in the report, only $34 million was recommended for removal. The audit conducted by the IHS Markit company has found that of the $1.67 billion in claims made by Exxon's subsidiary, the Esso Exploration and Production Guyana Company, for operational expenses in the Stabroek Block, some $214 million remains questionable. But Mr. Jagdeo today said that of that money, only $34 million was recommended for removal.
So it says the fine cost for removal is $34 million. That is what the audit said has to be removed from the cost bank into the profit share of oil. 34 of the 214 million. Inadequate supporting document 179.8, 180 million of the 214. They said inadequate supporting documents, so they're waiting for additional documents from Exxon to support that expenditure. So if they can't, then that goes into cost oil. But if they can substantiate it with additional supporting documents, then it doesn't get removed.
And while maintaining that the government has not hid the audit report from the public for more than 2 years, the Vice President said it is a work in progress and therefore could not be released at this time.
And the comment about it taking too long is a fair comment. We as policymakers, we press the technical people too to get this along, get it going, complete the work, because we have a ton of other things to do from the policy making side. We can't be running the technical issues all the time. You hire people to do that. So it's going slowly, but it is getting the required attention at the technical level.
The Guyana Revenue Authority, in justifying the delay, said that the initial set of reports submitted by the audit company were heavily flawed and in breach of the 2019 agreement that it signed with the government.
Traits Management, Structure, and Cashmere Rosé presents Sundress Soiree, Champagne and Cocktail Event, Saturday, April 8th at Everest Cricket Ground. Contribution $8,000. This is a day into night event. Doors open from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. Free. Cocktail hour, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Sundress Soiree. You know the vibes.
Ready for the ultimate event as Mackenzie Alumni Association presents official Night of Elegance. Reunion and fundraiser. It's going down on Friday, 21st April at the Edward Benjamin Conference Center, Linden, Guyana. Ticket donation $50 US, dinner included. Come and enjoy the vibes from old school R&B and hip hop. It's the official Night of Elegance. Night of Elegance.
The owner of the daycare center in Ogle, where 7-month-old Orion Grace Hanley died, was today charged and remanded to jail over the death of the baby girl. Flanked by the police and her attorneys, the Little Learners Daycare owner, Denise Ben, made her way into the courtroom of Magistrate Alicia George, where the manslaughter charge was read to her. The mother of the dead child sat quietly in the courtroom as the caregiver was charged. The young baby was pronounced dead at the Georgetown Hospital on the 21st of March after being rushed there by the caregivers. She was reportedly found unresponsive at the daycare facility hours after her mother had handed her over to the center's care. While it is suspected that the child might have gotten entangled by a sheet and died as a result, family members cried out for justice as a post-mortem examination revealed that the child died from hemorrhaging and suffocation. In court today, attorney Dexter Todd requested that bail be granted to the accused, telling the court that since the unfortunate incident, his client has been cooperative with the investigators.
When Denise visited the station, they told her that the recommendation was that of negligence of a child and that they were going to pursue a charge in relation to that. Now, at some point in time, the charge changed to manslaughter. Now, the police informed her to return to the station. She returned to the station, and no one told her that that was the charge. So we heard of manslaughter when we get to the court. But my issue is, and this is what I believe is messing the criminal justice system up in Guyana, because no one is being very objective and saying to parties, I know that this matter is a sensitive one. I know that this matter is one in which the families of the deceased child, of course, hit the social media and they were crying out. But one has to see justice in a broader sense. You don't want to institute a charge against someone that does not fit at the end of the day. So when the charge falls or fails, then you're going to blame the justice system, the police corrupt, the court corrupt.
Attorney at law Dexter Todd. The magistrate denied bail and remanded the woman to jail until the 10th of May, when the matter will come up again. Family members of the dead child wept as they hurried out of the courtroom when the matter was adjourned. With nomination day for the upcoming local elections just days away, the APNU is in preparation mode, though still uncertain of its participation. During a press conference today, the leader of the opposition and chairman of the APNU, Aubrey Norton, said his party is not prepared to let loose of its strongholds and is currently underground making the necessary preparations for the upcoming elections.
At the level of the party across the country, we are preparing for a local government election. It doesn't necessarily follow that we will participate. But at present, we see the need to prepare, we see the need to get ready.
News source understands that the APMU has been busy meeting with potential candidates for the various constituencies across the country. At the last local government elections in 2018, the APMU lost 3 of its constituency seats in Georgetown. At those elections, the APMU won 21 of the 30 seats for the municipality of Georgetown, while the PP Civic secured 7 seats, and the Alliance for Change won 2 seats. The Alliance for Change has since indicated that it will not be contesting in this year's elections. In the municipality of Linden, another stronghold for the opposition, the APMU won 13 seats on the 60-member council, while the AFC secured 2 seats, and the PP Civic won just 1 seat. Some tragic news to report now. Within the past 24 hours, 2 men lost their lives in 2 separate fires in the country. The Guyana Fire Service in a statement today said 75-year-old Sammy Munian lost his life on Wednesday afternoon when a fire engulfed his Fairfield Mycone home. An investigation by the fire service said a fire had been set to a pile of garbage close to the man's house, and that fire spread to the house, engulfing it in flames completely with the man trapped inside. When the fire service doused the flames, the elderly man's charred remains were discovered. Meanwhile, in the Williamsburg quarantine area, 64-year-old Harmon Pereira lost his life in a fire that was caused by an electrical problem in an air conditioning unit. A statement from the fire service explained that the 2-story house was engulfed in flames early this morning. The fire service responded quickly, and while they were able to douse the blaze, they were unable to save the man's life or any of his belongings. The entire building was gutted. Investigations into the 2 deaths are ongoing tonight.
Food Max Supermarket, located on the ground floor at the Giftland Mall, is your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. We stock a variety of imported frozen meat and food products, fresh produce, and pet supplies, freshly made bread. Rotisserie chicken and patties are also available daily. Shop in comfort today at Food Max and let our courteous staff assist you in satisfying your shopping needs. Food Max, the fresh food specialist.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true, or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Look who's in the mix now. The new Buster Soda Water. 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 artificial flavors. 100% refreshing. Taste Buster Soda Water today. Buster Soda Water. Now available for only $120.
Fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up. Fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Across the region tonight, at least 389 kidnappings were registered in Haiti in the first 3 months of this year, according to an international rights group. The group said it's a 3-fold increase from the last quarter of last year, as gangs look to recoup losses from international sanctions. The kidnappings seen between January and March are more than triple the 127 that were recorded in the previous quarter, and a 72% increase from the same period a year before. The Human Rights Research Group based in the capital of Port-au-Prince said in a report that the exponential increase may be due to the need to compensate from losses caused by international sanctions launched late last year. Countries such as the US and Canada have sanctioned a slate of high-profile politicians and businessmen in Haiti who are believed to be helping fund and bring weapons to heavily armed gangs who are now estimated to control most of the country. The organization said the increase could also be caused by new alliances forged between gangs as they grow their territory and expanding what is a kidnapping industry in Haiti. With this year's hurricane season fast approaching, the U.S. Air Force Reserve and other groups will host a series of events to help communities in Mexico and the Caribbean prepare for upcoming storms this season. The U.S. National Hurricane Center's acting director, Jamie Rowe, along with several hurricane specialists, intend to visit residents of vulnerable communities across the region and discuss hurricane preparedness, resilience, and how they can become weather ready. One official said last year's hurricanes Fiona, Ian, Julia, and Lisa were some of the most deadly and damaging hurricanes to strike the region, and they are expecting this year to be faced with a number of other powerful hurricanes. The Atlantic Basin hurricane season begins on the 1st of June. During hurricanes, military air crews fly state-of-the-art aircraft directly into the core of the storm to gather critical data for forecasting a hurricane's intensity and landfall. And finally tonight, international news. The BBC reports that Buckingham Palace has said that it is cooperating with an independent study exploring the relationship between the British monarchy and the slave trade in the 17th and 18th centuries. The palace said King Charles takes the issue profoundly seriously. The research is being carried out by the University of Manchester with historic royal palaces. Buckingham Palace is granting researchers full access to the royal archives and the royal collection. The study, which is a PhD project by historian Camilla de Conning, is expected to be completed in 2026. Both the King and the Prince of Wales have previously expressed their personal sorrow at the suffering caused by the slave trade. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight and this week. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and wishing you and your family a happy and safe Easter weekend.